Hi, my name is Megan, and welcome to episode 79 of a Nutty Mess Knitting Podcast. Okay, friends, we have a lot of things going on here. First of all, it is Thursday, February 6th, and it's very early in the morning. I have been filming sometimes after work, but today I have a very busy work day, and I just also want to be doing dinner stuff with the fam, so I decided to just get up early. I'm not a morning person. I have had some coffee, so that's not quite enough though. Bear with me. Okay, for anyone who is new here, hi, my name is Megan. I am a knitter, fiber enthusiast, I don't know. I crochet, I also spin. I will talk a little bit about one cross-stitch project I'm doing this year as well. And I live in the Pacific Northwest. I live with my family, my husband Mike, my daughter Theo, our dog Winter, and my mom Cindy. It is snowing here. It's still actively snowing a little bit, and I don't know how long that's supposed to last, but you know anything about the Seattle area, and that's where I live, it doesn't snow here very often, and when it does, even a tiny bit, we don't go outside. Sure, we've taken the dog for walks still, etc. But everything sort of shuts down. People think that's funny because, you know, we're rather northern in the US, but the Seattle area specifically is like surrounded by water, so we are in a protected bubble. So typically it just doesn't get that cold here. It's a pretty temperate zone, but when it does snow, which does happen, it happens every couple of years, we don't have very many plows. It's funny because I grew up in Pennsylvania, and you know, they like plow and salt a ton if there's even a whisper of snow, right? Because they want people to be able to go about their lives. Here, there's like, I don't know, something like 10 plows in the city. I don't know, maybe it's more than that, but it's not that many. And to get around, and we have a lot of very hilly neighborhood streets, you kind of get stuck. We were really lucky in this house. Our old house, we were actually like just this weird house right in the middle of a hill that neither of the roads got plowed around it. So we would just literally be stuck there for a week, because even though it might only snow one day, then it stays cold enough to stay ice or whatever. And the roads were just like completely not drivable. Plus we have these huge pine trees, so nothing melts. It's very fun. It's a very fun adventure. Okay, I finished 3 objects and a spin this week. So let's talk about it. It's so fun. It's a cozy week. I'm actually really glad this is one of the things I finished, because I wanted to wear a really cozy thing today, and mission accomplished. Okay, let's start with this, and then we'll go on to the other things. I won't even tell you what they are right now because it's a surprise. Okay. I finished my Brume by Andrea Mowry. It is a top-down raglan. It's you can't really see. You can see it here a little bit. Raglan. Construction, funnel neck, floofy sweater. And I had some issues, but I'll tell you about them. The good thing is it's done. It's full length-ish. It's a slightly cropped, and the pattern is actually supposed to be slightly shorter than what I ended up having for measurements. So I'll tell you measurements. I'll tell you what my finished gauge ended up being. Not what the pattern says, that's for sure. And yeah, the saga of making, but let's maybe stand up and look at it first. Let's just do that. Okay, you can see part of my face. Hi. This is so cute. I mean, look, so this is my belly button's here. Okay, the fullest part of my hip is like down here, but like this is sitting pretty nice. I'll go over measurements, but it's over 11 inches, which is what the pattern recommends. So that is good. And I do have a slightly long torso for my body, but I don't think it's like long for the world necessarily, right? Okay. I mean, look, it's cute. Ugh, the color is so gorgeous. I love it. I love it. Yeah, so fun. I do think like the funnel neck, I have really heavy hair. I have a ton of hair. So it's like when my hair is down, it's like pushing the funnel neck in a weird way, but yeah, whatever, it's fine. When I have my hair in a bun, it's really cute. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. The sleeves are a good length. They did block maybe like a ½ inch longer, maybe a full inch, but like not a lot longer. The yarn blocked out beautifully. You can see it's like a little bit airy, but it's, oh, that's just a regular fuzz. It's a little bit airy, but it's got like a lot of, I mean, there's a lot of floof on this. Like it's warm, even if it's a little bit airy, like it's warm. I think if I wore it outside in the wind, it would be cold. Because it's not a tight knit fabric, but yeah, it's warm for inside. Okay. What you'll see here, you can kind of see it. Oh yeah, look. There's some decreases. We'll talk about those. They're on both sides. Yeah, I mean, the sleeves are slightly tapered. The cuff is a little bit wide, but it's not wide enough to bug me. Like I'm not getting like a breeze or anything in there, so it's fine. Yeah, overall, really like it. I like how the raglan sits. This is a compound raglan actually, so like it doesn't, you know, you can see that it's not just going like this. It's got a little bit of a curve. So that's nice. When I put my arms down, like it looks fine. It looks nice. You can a little bit tell, it's like a little bit dolman-y because it is a little bit wider up here than it is at the bottom. But I think when you have oversized stuff, sometimes it looks like that anyway. So yeah. Okay, I'm gonna sit down and let's talk about the things. I definitely had some modifications for this. Let's go over all of them. First of all, I don't know if I even mentioned this on the podcast last week when I had split for sleeves and I had done some body. We'll talk about that in a second. But when I split for sleeves, I actually did not do all of the raglan increases because my row gauge was off. And I could tell that because I was like, wow, this is looking really long. And then luckily I measured it before the end. So I think I skipped 2 raglan increases, which was like 6 or so rows. Like it was quite far off. Which is okay. I cast on 2 extra underarm stitches on each side, so 4 extra. And also knowing that I wanted to like maybe like pick up extra stitches under the sleeve or whatever. I didn't actually do that. So the sleeves ended up being an okay size. And I think that they were mostly the right amount to start number of stitches. I think they were okay to start number of stitches. Yeah, because I did the decreases per pattern and then I had like the 44 stitches or whatever at the end. And it's a 1x1 bind off. And because this was originally written for fluffy yarn, she does recommend you bind off in pattern, which is what I did, using the slightly different faux sewn bind off. Okay. Which you can also use for like 2x2 or 3. You can use for any kind of ribbed pattern. So that was one thing. So I ended early. Also then I realized when I was doing the body, I did notice when I was first doing the body, I had 5.5 inches, I think, last week of body done. And that was the end of one of my skeins of yarn. Then, I didn't even have sleeves done last week, or I had one partially done. So when I did sleeves, I had the body that I had done up to 5.5 inches was 3 balls of yarn. And I had 2 balls of yarn left for my sleeves. They're only 50-gram balls, and I was like, ooh, I might be really close with these sleeves. So, and I wanted the sleeves to be full length, so I was like, I'm just gonna do the sleeves as they're written, hope for the best, and see how much I have left over. When I was done, I only had about 25 grams, maybe it was like 22 grams left. That was not enough to get me 1.5 extra inches and 4 inches of ribbon, which is what I needed for the body to be 11 inches. When I did some measurements too, and I was like, you know what, this body is like 55 inches big now. It was supposed to be 48. Because my gauge was off and I was like correct on stitch counts or close to correct on stitch counts, we'll talk about that in a second, I just ripped out the body all the way until the underarm. And I had sleeves already, so I'd be careful, but I ripped out all the way, like right until like two rows after the underarm. I put it in the freezer to make this a little bit easier. It was actually not that bad. This is sticky but not hairy, so it was fine. I didn't lose a lot of fluff or anything during that process. I rolled it into a ball and then I re-knit. And what I did was I did a rapid decrease, as in like I decreased the first row that I was working, and then like the 4th row, and then the 7th row, and then maybe 1 or 2 extras. And I tried to do this. It was a math issue for me mostly. I tried to do this actually based on the middle of the underarm, because I realized when I was putting stitches back on the needles that my back somehow had 1 or 2 or 4 extra stitches compared to the front. So meaning I just like did something weird in my raglan increases. I don't think you can tell. Like I don't have a baggy back or anything. There's maybe a little bit extra room right here in the back of the armpit, but like it's fine. So I wasn't going to go back and figure out what I did in the raglan because that was a little too much for me. It was fine. I was close to stitch counts. So I actually did my last 2 decreases were just the back only. Yeah, that's what I did. So it was rapid. And then I did 2 just the back only. And like, you can't tell, it's fine. And then that got me to what I determined by my gauge would be 48-ish inches. So the gauge of the pattern is supposed to be 17 stitches by 26 rows. And I'm really solidly in like 14.5 stitches by 20 rows. So obviously that's going to make me off pattern. So I went down stitch count, which was fine. So I have a little more space in like the upper body right by my bust, so it's got some room. My waist is smaller than my bust anyway, so then it actually looks like it's about the same amount of room down to my waist. That's why I think it looks a little bit straighter than super baggy, which is fine. So ended up being okay. None of those things are terrible. You know, gauge is important. I was dead set on this yarn for this pattern anyway, so knowing it's not the exact same yarn. This is a thicker yarn than a DK Suri, and partly because the way the floofs are don't collapse as much as like the hairy floofs, which is fine. So this is all this to say, like, I am not at all mad that this is what I have, that this is how it is, and I really enjoy like how soft it is. I love the color. Okay, so let's go to the sizing and then I'll go through what my actual measurements are. So and the yarn. So this is supposed to be a size 4, 48 inches. Not there. I used the recommended needles, and I did do a gauge swatch, but I didn't do like a huge one, and this didn't change a whole lot with blocking, especially with the stitch. So I clearly like relaxed a lot more in a lot of stitches on the needles. You can actually even see it a little bit, like some of these stitches, it just, if you were here live, not through the camera, it's hard to see, but some of these stitches here are much closer than what they ended up being down here. So I was knitting a little bit tighter, and you know, you relax, especially with floofy yarns. I find like boucle and other things, like my hands relax in the round because you have to like, you don't want to catch your yarn too much, and you don't want to make it hard to pull through because it's just not the same as a smooth yarn. That being said, I could have sized down my needles at any point during this project and gotten closer to gauge, but I just didn't want to. I liked what the fabric was feeling like. So, yes, that's what I have. This is Treehouse Yarns Magnolia Brush Merino in the colorway In Bloom, which is from the Stars Hollow collection. I love it. It's so cute. It's so cute. This is like the best, I don't know, it's like a vibrant pastel, and I am here for it. I used a 4.5 millimeter needle throughout, except for the funnel neck collar is, and you do start with that, you don't do it after, is 4 millimeters, but I ended up doing for my cuffs and my hem 3.75 millimeters because this 4 is like really open, and it's fine for the neck because I wanted it to really feel like a funnel neck. But when I got down to it, I was like, you know, I'm just going to do 3.75 because I wanted the cuffs to be a little bit more cinched in. I liked how this 1 by 1 looked a lot more. And so that's what I did for the big, it's like I got 3.5 inches. Oh, so the saga of yarn, when I, re-knit the body with those decreases, I also got then just over 7 inches of body. So I might have tightened the body up a little bit, but my row gauge is still pretty long. So whatever magical things happened, I got 7 inches and a little bit. Then I moved maybe like 7.5 entirely. Could have been even a little bit more than that. But then I moved on. I like did straight knitting all the way until, and I was measuring as I was going, but all the way until I used that ball of yarn that had previously been connected. And then I used the 22 grams, and I was like, I just have to do all the ribbing, right? And I did the ribbing until I had just a little bit of yarn left, and then I figured out how long. Really, I just measured my yarn 48 times 4, because that's what my circumference was about, and that is 1 round. And so I measured until I had like 1.5 rounds left, and then I was like, well, I got to bind off now, and I bound off, and it worked out. And I literally have like 2.5 yards of yarn left. Like, we played yarn chicken. So that makes me very happy to use all the yarn, every bit. I think that's all I have to say about that. Sorry, it was sort of long-winded, but this ended up being a little bit more of a saga, and I did a lot more in a week than I normally do in a sweater, but big gauge and all that. Final measurements for me on this are circumference towards the hem, 48 inches. Towards the upper part is closer to 52. Body length is 11.75 inches. Upper arm circumference is about 15 inches. The cuff circumference is 9. Sleeve length is 17.5 inches. And the funnel width is like 11, laid flat. So, 22 or whatever. I have 2 other finished objects and a spin, so let's go through those. Let's show these first. So I did finish my January socks on February 1st, which all in all, considering I started kind of late in the month, is fine by me. I will just put it on my hands because that's a great way to show a sock. This is too small for my foot. I'm not going to show you my foot anyway. I don't know where my sock blockers are. Plus, the way this pattern is, I feel like it's nice to see the top of the foot because that's what you would be looking at for the pattern. It's got this cute little sort of grid thing happening with some purl stitches and this really lovely faux cable lace stitch here. This is called the Soma Sock. This is by Summerly Knits. It's in her book called The Sock Project. I don't think like I'll do all of the patterns from the book. There's quite a lot of like fun scrappy things from there that I might do in the future because I'm trying to get through like full socks games this year. That's not going to be my priority. But I do really like a lot of the patterns, and I might adapt a couple of them without like some of the color blocking and other things for my year of socks. But there's at least 2 others that I think would be really cute, like full patterns. This one was great because this is a Woolberry sock set called Sunrise. But it has just like a little bit of variegation, just a little bit of that pink in there. And this is the mini that came with it. And it's a heel flap and gusset construction. Anyway, so, but I just felt like this would show off the pattern pretty nicely, and I think it does. So 2 socks. I did have 1 done last week and then 1, kind of done. And so I spent a little more time this weekend. I finished both of these. They are little buddies. I really like that little, this was not in the pattern to do the cuff. This is actually like a 1 color sock in the pattern. So I did just sub in both the heel and the toe, and then this little bit here with a contrasting yarn because I liked the contrasting yarn that came with it. The only thing I changed then is that my main yarn was still connected here on this side of the gusset, just like as it would be in any sock that you start your heel rows or your heel flap rows with a contrast color. Instead of finishing the heel turn here and then going down and picking up along this side, which is kind of what was written in the pattern because you'd be in the same yarn and then you continue across, I cut the yarn at the edge of the heel here and I went back with the main color, the blue, and I just picked up first here and then down, so I didn't have to have that extra end to weave in. It doesn't really matter, like I could have just cut and done it. It would have been 2 extra ends to weave in, but I just didn't want to, and it doesn't change anything in the pattern if you pick up that way. And that's what I did for the gusset. I also did, one thing that did a little bit annoy me about this pattern is I feel, and I have it on my Kindle, so like maybe it's just the way I didn't read ahead, but I felt like it wasn't clear. She just kind of says like, do the heel flap until a certain length, which is not that normal. I feel like normally it tells you the number of rows to do or the number of repeats. And then she said, but so she just said by length in inches, and then but then she did tell you how many to pick up on the gusset, which is not going to be like, if you do more or less than what's recommended, you're not going to have those stitches. So I had like one extra repeat than what was recommended because by length, that's what it was for me. And so I ended up having to do like one extra decrease. Not a big deal. Just letting you know. That if I had just read ahead, I would have been like, oh, this many repeats. And then I wouldn't have to think about it. That's okay though. Okay. There's that, and then here's the big one. I don't even know how to show you this well. I'll show you it this way actually first. I can only get so far back, and I just don't have that much room in this room. But I did finish this amazing corner to corner baby blanket. I don't even know what you could see there, but hopefully you saw some of it. It's all done. All the ends are woven in, not an end in sight. I need to take pictures of it. I was supposed to meet up with my friend. Actually, he said he would come over and grab it early. But then it snowed. His wife is due at the end of the month, so hopefully he can still get over here before baby 2 arrives. Okay, let's just go over each of the little motifs because you can see them, each of the characters, if I just hold them like here. So here is our first little motif. Isn't he so cute? Okay, so this is our first turtle, and his name is Michelangelo. Yeah, they're just all so cute. I can't even get over it. Okay, we'll do this one up here. This actually sits above Michelangelo. Okay, this is, and he's red, and this is Raphael. And he has a little sword you can see coming down, which is hilarious, pixelated, but yeah, it looks okay. Okay, and then I'll flip it inside out. So this one's on the bottom next to Michelangelo, and this is Donatello. He's so cute. They're so cute. Okay, and then our very last little dude is Leonardo. And here he is. Aren't they? And he's the only one. No, we have 2 with 1 eye peeking and 2 with 2 eyes peeking. They're so cute. So overall, this thing is about 40 inches wide by 43 inches tall. So bigger than crib size for sure, like a small bed size or whatever. Which will be really fun. Hopefully they just like lay on the floor and he crawls all over it and stuff once he is able to crawl, which is many months from now. But yeah, I'm very excited to get this to them. What else do I have to say about it? Oh, it's heavy. Not super heavy. It weighs about 26 ounces. It's like 736 grams, which is, you know, over a pound. It's a lot. It is a lot of yardage too, because I did a bunch of different yarns and I'm not going to weigh all of them because I didn't weigh all of them to start. I will probably just take the average of like the 2 main yarns I used, which were 2 different types of yarn, and find that yardage on Joann's or whatever. And then I will do some math for figuring out how many yards that was. So I don't have it right now, but I'll put it in the project page on Ravelry, but it was quite a lot of yards of yarn, which, yeah, obviously, that is self-drafted by me. It is a corner to corner blanket. So I just used the regular corner to corner, like recipe or whatever. I used a 5mm hook, which was, I just decided there's not that much rhyme or reason for it. And mostly scraps, other than I had to buy the gray and the green. So I finished the last like 25 or 26 rows this past week. And that felt really nice and lovely, and it's done, and I'm glad, and I will get it to them. Okay, let's move on to, and I will say, let me put this on camera. I love this friend very dearly. I love that I'm going to make him this blanket. Also, this friend used to have in his apartment when we were younger, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like, video game, like arcade game, like the whole arcade thing. He had this in his apartment. So, and obviously I played much on it, so that it makes sense that this is what he would request for his firstborn son. And yeah, so I'm very glad to get it to him, but what I want to say on camera is I don't ever want to make this one again. I maybe made that thought to myself before, because I did make this one other time, and this was one of my first corner to corner blankets, maybe even my first, when I had no regard for color changes. Yeah. And I might have thought to myself, never again, but I didn't record it, and now I'm recording it. Okay, here is my finished spin. This is so lovely, and ended up being very thin. I knew it was going to be thin because I was trying actively to spin thinner, because I have been making a lot of heavy DK weight yarns. Okay, so I think at my wraps per inch, I'm around 15, maybe even 16. So we're at a light fingering. That's not the end of the world by any means. It's not 100% dry. We're like at an 85% dry right now. So I might get tiny more floof in some of these. So I'll do a more accurate measurement when it's really fully dry, but it's definitely fingering weight, if not light fingering. So that's pretty good. I have a couple of over plied bits in here, just a few that you can see like right here, which is fine. And as I wind it into a ball and then use it, it'll relax a little bit more. But I think the color looks really nice. And this is the same spin I showed you last week, that I was still on I still had a little bit to go on my first bobbin. That was like the split. So this is sort of it's a fractal spin. And this is, it's just like the way these colors represented. It's funny because when I showed you last week the braid that was braided into a little snail form still, it didn't look that red. But when I opened it up and started using it, like predominantly pinky red, like that deep burgundy color on the spin. And then the second part of the braid, I spun just end to end. And that ended up being slightly less yardage than the 3, and I think that's what I knew. I don't know, I don't remember when I weighed them. So I have some left over on one of the bobbins, and instead of pulling off and doing a 2-ply from spinning from the middle and the outside of a cake, I decided earlier this year, one of the watchers actually of the podcast is doing this and posted on Instagram, and I messaged her and then said, can I steal that idea? She said yes. I'm gonna take everything everything that I spin this year, the bits and ends that I don't end up spinning together. And part of the reason too that I was really not worried for this is because I already knew this was going to be a ton of yardage. So there's quite a bit left on the bobbin. I'll show you. On the first bobbin, I mean, it's not like a ton of layers thick, but there's plenty on here. I'm still going to spin all of this to a single tube that I'm going to be keeping, and I'm using old toilet paper rolls that I am using to hold the singles, and then I'm going to apply them all together. And I have not decided, because I didn't actually like connect the two, but I did my last 2 spins. I had a little bit left of the Daydream. That's on a thing already. And then I'll add this to it. And so the weights will go crazy, right? But I didn't like tie them together or anything. So I've yet to decide if I'm going to, and I've not spun this one off, but am I going to put it onto the same one? Am I going to just use another tube? I'm going to try to have like a lighter weight tube and a heavier weight tube, so that when they're applied together, there's not any super heavy like against, I don't know. I'm not sure. I shall decide later. And then do I also want it just to be, and you know, beginning of year to end of year? I don't know. So we'll see. But it's gonna be like a fun, crazy yarn that you get at the end. That's just like a crazy amount of hodgepodgey things. And so I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but it's whatever, right? It's what am I gonna do with a tiny mini skein of this too? I might use it, I might not. Quite frankly, like I could probably get 2 whole pairs of socks out of this and still have some left over. This is 90% superwash merino and 10% nylon. So this is sock yarn. That's what it's intended to be. Why I want it to spin it fingering. I think I will use it for socks. I love a hand knit sock. I only have one right now and it's a DK weight. So I would love to have a fingering weight hand knit sock or hand spun sock. Obviously hand knit also. Okay, I'm gonna let this dry all the way. Let's see. Okay, so that's my 3 finished objects and my spin. Sorry, that was a lot of the episode. Let's move on. Okay, so now let's move on to whips, and I only have 3 left on my needles. I know, this is very exciting. I am going to cast something on today. Probably 2 things today, so we'll be back up to 5, but that's okay. I have 3 things left to talk about, which is my traveler hoodie, these days blanket, and then a new cast on. So first off is the traveler hoodie. This is a pattern by Andrea and Mowry. I was definitely having an Andrea Mowry moment at the end of last year / beginning of this year, because I think my only 3 sweaters on the needles are Andrea Mowry. There is one lingering whip, and I would like to tell you about it now. It is my birch, and I was trying to use a yarn that just wasn't cooperating. I was not getting gauge. I kept putting it down because I was so far off of gauge, and I don't know that I love the fabric that it was creating. It would have been a really, really airy birch, which is fine, but part of what I want from the birch is that like squish factor of like how the ribbing looks when it's a little bit denser. So I am pivoting, and that is, I'm allowed to do that. I have very little done in the beginning of the birch. Like I have the collar, which I redid all on, and like I'm like knitting on 2.5 millimeter needles now, which is not crazy. I think the whole pattern's on 2.75 millimeter needles, but yeah, I just don't want to do that. So I am going to use this. This was originally intended, like my very first intention when I purchased this yarn. This is from Backloop Yarn and Fiber, Erin, who you obviously hear me talk about a lot. I originally purchased this yarn with, and she custom dyed this for me, with this Surrey. And these are the same dye recipes, but Surrey looks different than, obviously, than like regular yarn, wool yarn. I did a swatch and I didn't love it as much as I wanted to love it. I think this is just more purple than I wanted. I wanted like this blue or periwinkle color for a cargo sweater by Rebecca Clow. That was what I purchased the yarn for. Luckily that pattern requires quite a lot of yardage. So I ordered like 5 skeins of fingering, I think. And so I made, this might look familiar because I have an ashling made out of this, and I still have 3 full skeins of this Surrey to use in something else in the future, which I will do undoubtedly because I really love that color. But this I am going to use as my birch, holding it alone. It's one of my only tonal like sweater quantities that isn't spoken for, and I don't have that many just tonal sweater quantities that have this much yardage, because the birch is like a hefty, takes quite a lot of yard sweater. So we are using this. I'm gonna recast on maybe this week, but I'm just definitely gonna rip out what I have and use this. What I'm gonna do with that diamond lane, not sure yet, but I think I might pivot plans, because if you remember last year, and that's like a gray, like a light gray, I don't have it down here, it's a light gray with rainbow speckles. It's last year during our annual we have biannual, we do it twice a year or more, inside my knit group yarn swap, Sylvan was giving 2 of these away, and so I have 2 of these, which is just a different colorway of that same yarn in a charcoal almost black. I mean, it's pretty close to black. Neon speckles. It's called neon sign, or rainbow speckles. So this, with my light gray, might become something that has a little color work in it. I think having a really like more of a stockinette look with that yarn, just because there's a high cashmere content, and this is potentially like a woolen spun, it's just a lot fluffier than a normal yarn. And I think that will benefit the yarn. Like having a stockinette stitch will really make the yarn shine. That's my idea right now. Okay, going on, I just want you to know the birch is dead to me and is going to restart with a new timeline, new project soon. Okay, last week I was mid hood. So I explained to you a little bit about how the hood is created. Here is where I was. So I finished the short rows on the front, and you can see that line now here. And then I did the encasement of the I-cord. I did just pick white I-cord. I put this out to our whole group who's making this, which is all of my Seattle area Pacific Knit West friends, and then our Bay Area friends. And I decided we collectively were like white or black. And then I decided that the black I could switch in if I wanted to, but I think I wanted like the bright, like more of a pop of color, or just like something bright. So I did the white. This yarn is I think it's called Au Naturel from Yarnaceous, and in her Salta fingering. So it's just leftover I had from a sample for her. And so cute. And like, just look at the line of this here. What's a good way to show? It's kind of, I feel like the sweater is heavy. Okay. It's such a nice clean line that you can see. Look at that, everything about it. Wow, I love it. It's gorgeous. Yeah, the line of, because you're casting off essentially, right? It's got a little bit of stretch to it, but not too much. Yeah. It's what creates that clean bind off look. So I love it. Okay. Then I did pick up a sleeve. I didn't do a lot of the sleeve. This was not my priority this week because this became my obsession. So I will get back to this and hopefully finish one sleeve this week. It's going fine. It's not, I don't have particular feelings about the sleeve right now. It's going fine. I do think, because like I said, this shows you more of the weight just with having the weight on the sweater for measuring and stuff. But this, look how like tight this accordion looks. When you wash it though, like these sleeves are going to block out quite a lot. So I don't want to make them too big. She does the thing again where it's like every 0.75 inches do a decrease in a knit row, which is a little bit annoying. Like, just tell me how many rows that should be. So it's actually changing a little bit per like little bump. So they're not like, it's not every on the third row or something like that. It's a little bit more math wise, which is fine. So I definitely had to go in and yeah, I've got my markers on and I've got a pattern now. So I'm in a rhythm. It's okay. I did about half my decreases. This is only about 6 inches though. I think stretched a little bit more. So I'm okay with that. I'm going to just keep going where I am in pattern. And then I think I might stop pre-cuff. I have one other full ball of yarn and I may just connect that once I'm done the decreases, essentially do this, and then before my cuffs I may block. I have plenty of yarn. I'm not going to run out of yarn, so zero fear of this. This was my original fear, no longer. I had maybe a skein and a half fully, maybe a little bit more than that to do the sleeves, which is what I thought that I would have left over, right? I wanted a 3/4 of a skein per sleeve to get it done, but I don't even need that much. I'm not going to. So anyway, I think that I will do that because I do think that the sleeves are going to grow a lot and I don't want them to be comically long. So I'm okay if they're a little bit long. That's fine. I think even, yeah, so I think I'm gonna, yeah, do them like a couple inches above wrist, knowing that I've got some cuff to add and hopefully get them to right where I would want the cuff to start, you know? I'm so excited though. It like really looks like a sweater now. Okay, and really quick reminder for sizing on that. That is a size 4. The bust is 50 inches. Recommended ease is 6 to 10 inches, so I don't have as much ease as is recommended, which is fine. 3.75 millimeter needles for the body, 3.25 for the ribbing. And I'm using Queensland Collection Rainbow Beach in the color Boysenberry, which is 100% superwash wool from Australia. And that's great and fine, but it is, I had one of the girls in knit group, I can't remember who it was, maybe it was even Ariel, felt it last week and or this past knit night, and she was like, wait, that's superwash? And I was like, I know, this is what I'm telling you. It's like very much not got, like, the next project I'll show you, which is my blanket, is like so soft compared to that. It's not even that it's very, it feels soft enough. It's just rustic feeling for superwash wool. So it's mind-boggling. But I love it so much. Let's go on to the next project, which I just sneak peeked you. But this is my These Days blanket by 5410 Studio on Instagram. And I think her name is Mary Lee. Anyway, so yes, very cute. My stitch marker or my progress keeper is like way down here. So I think I've done 3 or 4 repeats of the pattern, and then the border, and now I'm just cruising along. First ball of yarn was done down here, and I am just over halfway per pattern. I think that and that's like per my math per the pattern, because it said it needs to be like 40 inches or something, and then I did by whatever the row gauge was in the pattern. This was all for me to just set about how many rows I needed to get done per night if I want to finish this before we go to Portland. So I did that math, and then I think I might be slightly, like, it's also such a crinkly pattern, so I might be a little bit off on row gauge, so I might add a couple inches or a couple more repeats. I have about this much yarn left, so even if I am halfway, I'm not using all of the yarn. My math was I would have a little bit of yarn left over, but I thought I'd be pretty close to using all of it. So, I mean, there's also probably some yardage that was like an overage in her estimate for her pattern. Regardless, I will have like probably half a ball left over of yarn or so. So I might add some extra repeats just anyway to give it a little bit more length, but I don't want to add so many repeats that it becomes like comically long and not that wide. It's so cute though. It's so cute. It's a little baby pastel sherbet dream, which is exactly what my friend wanted. So yes, anyway, we go to Portland next weekend, so I'm really hoping that we will I will be done with this by then. Being over halfway and getting most of that done in a week is encouraging. So it's definitely possible. Not having this to obsess over and get done, I may very well just focus on this primarily this weekend and not really do much else. We shall see. I do have a cast on I want to do, which I'll talk about in a second, etc. And I have one new project which I've been loving knitting, and I did quite a lot on. So anyway, I'm doing a size small for that blanket, and I am doing it on 4.5 millimeter needles, no change for the bottom ribbing or anything. And so that's the whole project will be on that. It's real cute. That yarn is Lobby and Amy Merino DK in the colorway Gyupta. And okay, so funny, somebody did comment that was not what they were expecting when I said bougie. A bougie baby blanket, and it's a bougie baby blanket. Let's be very clear. I understand that. Even for my like knit friends here, no, I probably would use like their knitty friends. My knitty friends would probably also get a very luxurious type of baby blanket, depending on how they thought they'd want to care for it. But I would give them that option. So yes, but when I bought that yarn from Lobby and Amy, which right now she's having a sale, by the way. I don't know how many days it's lasting, so hopefully that is still happening when I tell you this, but they're having like a warehouse sale. Shipping was a little bit expensive, but otherwise, this yarn was comparable, maybe even a tiny bit cheaper than US yarns, because the exchange rate was like 1 to 1. So it was not that expensive. I mean, like, It's the same as any hand-dyed yarn. It wasn't like way more than like an Explorer Knits blanket or something like that. Okay, so I cast on this week. I told you I was going to cast this on. I told you what yarn I was using. And this is a gift knit. This is one of my first, this is my first completed Make 9 for me. It's February, so that's like very exciting because I think last year I cast my first Make 9 on, which was my Instant Crush in like March. So we're already behind. This is for me in the Make 9. This is for my best friend Sarah in the gift Make 9, and this is the Ribblesdale Vest by Lily Kate Makes, Lily Kate France, and I love it. It was really fun to cast on. I am using Malabrigo worsted in the color Water Green, which should look familiar because it's what I used for my Belle Mullet last year. And it's a really fun, so the picture will be up, right, but it is a bottom up. I was gonna say top down, clearly not. It's a bottom up ribbed bottom, but mostly brioche vest, one color brioche vest, that's like a v-neck that is got quite a lot of negative ease but has buttons on the front. So I shall be so the placket is not included. I'm going to pick up and do that after the fact. So I'm in the body. It's so cute. I love brioche, by the way. Every time I do it, I'm like, ah, I love this rhythm. I love it so much. Not that I just don't do it that much. Like, it's not my go-to stitch pattern, but like I really enjoy doing it. It's just so fun. Also brioche flat is really great because every row is, you know, not identical because you have to start and end a little bit differently, but like it's all knit brioche. You don't have to purl brioche, which purl brioche is fine. You can do it for like syncopated if you want to change where your stitch pattern is, which like a lot of cows from like Bridget and stuff have the syncopated. Luckily she is smart, and so is Andrea Mowry because she did this in the Cinnabar. That syncopated piece is usually shorter than the knit part because nobody likes to purl brioche for the whole thing or anything. Anyway, that's just me. So yeah, here we are. It's super lovely. It's super squishy. I did go down a needle size for then the ribbing as well. So I did the ribbing in a 4mm needle, and I did moved up to a 4.5 for the brioche. Yeah, just the way that I'm knitting brioche, I knit a little bit wider. Like it's just a relaxed stitch for me. And so this, yeah, the ribbing will open up a little bit when it's blocked, but I'm really excited. I think it's so cute. I am just under, not halfway of the body. Yeah, I think this is like 2.5 inches, and the body before I do underarm things is only supposed to be like 6.5 or something like that. So it's not a ton more. And this brioche part did not take me that long. Like definitely I feel like the ribbing took me longer. But yeah, so I love it. It's so squishy. So I don't think this one's going to stay on the needles for a really long time. I'm not going to like push to get it done this week or anything, but I do think like I'll be able to split for body and do some, it's gonna take time, and like I'm gonna need time to really pay attention to like as soon as I split, there's like a lot of things going on. There's gonna be like decreases on both sides for the armhole and neck shaping, and it becomes quite small for this, but then I think that will go really quickly. So like even though it'll take time to pay attention, I'm not gonna be like spending a ton of time, if that makes any sense. Anyway, because the front and the back look almost identical, I do have a stitch marker on here just to remind me what the front is. Yeah, they're not identical because before you go to the brioche, since brioche is more open than your ribbing, you do like a decrease round. So you can see my decreases here, but you cannot see them on the front. Like you can see that they're moved together, but it's not as noticeable. So even if I didn't have the marker, I'd probably be able to tell, but it is convenient to have. So yes, so size-wise for this, I am making this for my friend who has about a 36-inch bust, because I am doing a size 3, which is 33 inches, and this is supposed to have negative ease, 3 inches or so of negative ease, 3 to 5, I guess. So this is like just, where sizing fits. That's like there is like a 2-fit bust, and she gives you the range, right? So this is the range she should be in. I am using a 4.5 millimeter needles, which is why there's no needles on it right now, and it's like joined in the round because I am lazy. This is supposed to use worsted weight yarn, and I think just because my yarn is slightly thicker than worsted, that's why I had to go down a needle size, and I just think I knit brioche more open. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about this. It doesn't require a lot of yarn. I have 2.5 skeins, so hopefully that is enough for this. Like yardage wise, according to her estimates, I should be okay. But I am, you know, this much into, I had like already used the half skein. It wasn't quite a half skein for the bottom. And I'm this much into just the body. But I think if I finish the body with this skein of yarn, then the top is definitely not going to take even half a skein, and then I just have to do the edges. So I think I'll be fine. I'm not really worried about it. I'm like relatively close in the estimate of yardage, but I think we'll be okay. I've not cast on my February socks. That's one thing I have to do. The second thing I have to do, or I would like to cast on this week, is my bulky, I don't know how you say it, F-L-E-T-T-E. This is a yarn that was gifted to me by Woolfolk to participate as a preview knitter during the knit along for the new Taylor Ann pattern, which is called the Dolan jacket. I am doing, I think, the short version in a size 4 or 5. I can't remember exactly. It's an open jacket. I can put the picture here now because it is released and everything, so you can go purchase this pattern already. I have given some feedback, and I will continue to, as I'm knitting, just make sure everything is correct, because I am slightly test knitting, but it is more of like I'm preview knitting so that there are other knitters who will finish the jacket during the knit along. Knit along starts tomorrow, and I was added to the Slack channel yesterday, and you can still participate in this knit along if you'd like. Go on to Woolfolk's website and purchase the yarn, and I think there's like a sign up there. I am using color FB16, and FB is like, they always use like the initials of the yarn as the beginning of the, and then just color number. Anyway, so this is FB16, which I think is called Seafoam, and it's a really lovely bluey, greeny, gray color. And it's just so nice. So this jacket is really cute, and I am excited to work with a different kind of bulky merino boucle. It definitely feels different than the other boucles that I've used, and it is a bulky instead of a DK. And I think that the little boucle pieces are a little bit further apart. We'll see how this goes for knitting. But yeah, so I'm gonna skein some of this up tonight and do my swatch, and then move on to casting on, hopefully tonight, maybe tomorrow, with everyone else. But I do want to make sure that I'm a little bit ahead of some of the people. Like people could already have cast on, but I want to just make sure that this is like semi-priority project over the next few weeks. It's so squishy though. I think I'm gonna really like working with that. So let's go on, and I'll give you my honest opinion, just like I did for the last Woolfolk knit, even though that is gifted yarn. And I definitely had opinions about the last one, which was a 50% merino, 50% linen. And you guys know that wasn't the most enjoyable yarn to knit with, and it's like a chainette yarn. And I didn't like the feel of the garment until I washed it. And I did tell you guys this during my my tier ranking, even like there's some pieces of that pattern I would have changed a little bit, just like for myself, and I gave that feedback. That was a little bit more of an actual test knit, but I like hate that I wear it all the time. But I do, and the fabric is fabulous for the summer. So you know, that was like a maybe not the best to knit with, but definitely a nice fabric to have. Okay, last thing I'll show you is the last thing on my last fiber project that's active for me is my cross stitch. You're not going to remember what it looks like before, and that's fine, because I'm probably only going to show it once a month, but I'm really still in the same place. I have finished the wreath. I think I'm missing like one color in here that's from the bookshelf. And then I am actually, this is white, so it's hard to tell, but this is all done. And now I have some back stitching to do here. So my priority for the next few weeks as I do it is like, these are both like little mini sampler things. So I have to get these done because that's going to be a huge pain in the neck because there's like a ton of colors in here, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to get this done, and then I want to start back stitching because all of this is done here and all of this is done here. So I want to just get the rest of this. And then this is actually like right at this line, like right where I am. You can kind of see, like, this is the line on the paper for the pattern. So it starts on the next one, and I just haven't flipped back and forth a ton. Some of it was easy color coverage, but this actually becomes a different part of the picture, and there's a lot of different colors involved in here. It's not like this pattern just continues. There's like a sewing machine that's here. So I want to maybe just get done some of the stuff here, do the back stitching, and like really finish it out. That'll make it look a lot different over the next month. That's probably all I'll get done over the next month, to be honest. But yeah, still stitching every Sunday. Y'all, I've had a lot of acquisitions this year. I understand that. I have more. Let's talk about them. This is a different acquisition. Well, let's start it in a different, yes, thing. Okay. So first of all, I told you last week, I think, that I got my back loop yarn ordered, back loop yarn and fiber order. And it wasn't everything. There were 2 things missing from it. And that was just like, it was just a partial shipment because she was waiting to get something. So Sylvan and I both got this color, and this was just a request, not in catalog, right? Of black, just black on her new desert sock, which is a 50% silk and 50% baby camel 4-ply sock yarn, 437 yards for 100 grams. It's got incredible drape and is the same as this treehouse blend. So you can see, I think like Erin's is skeined a little bit tighter, so it doesn't look as drapey, but it is floopy, right? Two floopy boobies. This is from Treehouse Knits. I got this last year for also the Stars Hollow collection. They call it different things, right? But this is the same yarn, similarly gorgeously soft, etc. But yeah, we ordered black, and you can tell this is not black. This is a really, really dark chocolate brown, almost a purpley chocolate brown. It's super pretty. Camel is tan naturally, not white. So I think that's just as dark as she could get the recipe, which is also fine because we didn't know exactly what it would look like. That was just our request. Sylvan and I want to do black and white knits this year. So same with like more of our knit group, but I think Sylvan and I were the 2 that were just like, yes, black and white knits this year. This may not count towards my black knit because this isn't as black as I wanted it to be for the black and white knit, but I do really like it actually. This is actually in my color wheels. I can use this dark of a brown as a neutral, and because it's a cool neutral, it's like a cool leaning brown. So that is one, and I got that just to make a tank top anyway. And then the other part of the order was this, which is on her new BFL sock, which is 75% superwash BFL, 25% nylon, 4-ply, 464 yards for 100 grams. So it's a slightly lighter fingering weight, and it is, I asked her like softness level across others. Like obviously this is not quite as soft as a superwash merino, but I like how it feels a lot. Like it's a little bit like crispier. This is going to be a Carlisle. I still haven't decided if I want to do the Carlisle. This is a pattern by Maddie Mo. If I want to do the Carlisle raglan or the saddle shoulder. I like both of them so much. They do look a little bit, that detail looks different, and they just look, both of them, so cute. This is her color called Newspaper, which is not currently like in her catalog, but again, something she made before, and I made the request for colors outside of the catalog. Live, I think this is a slightly like grayer base than I thought it would be, but I actually think that's way better. I was worried that it was going to be like too creamy of a base for me, but this is really, really cool. Like this is, although very cool leaning, slightly black speckles. I love it. I'm so excited. This, I don't know, this is going to maybe jump up in the queue a little bit early. I'm trying not to do this, like just, oh, this is cute and I just got it, so let me cast it on. But this pattern has been in my favorites list forever. I don't own either of them yet, so I have to like decide which one I want to have. but I just really love these patterns. They're just like a 3x1 rib, I think, or something. And like, it's just, they look so classic and they look really great in a speckle. Okay, so that's some of the yarn. Okay, that's really all I acquired this week. Other than what we did at knit night this week. So one of the things we did at knit night, we played yarn shuffle with our EKF solstice boxes. So Sylvan, Katie, Ariel, and I all got solstice boxes from EKF for 2024 in the Denali sock base. As agreed upon the group. Not that anybody couldn't have done something different, but we were all talking about it and we're like, oh yeah, we all want it. And last year, and maybe even the year before, they'd done some swaps amongst each other after they got the boxes. So we talked about doing that again this year, so we all got the same base. If somebody wanted a different base, obviously we could have just done that and then you could have kept it and that's whatever. I think this makes it feel a little less scary to get a mystery box if you know that you could potentially trade out the colors you don't love as much. So that's nice. We're hoping that some of these colors will come to Rose City, but who knows? We laid them all out on the table and then we just went through and told everybody what our favorite colors were. We had some that had no overlap, and so that made it a little bit easier for picking. And then we had just some discussion, and it took us not an inconsiderate amount of time to discuss what we wanted to do and do some project planning potentially together to figure out who should get what. We also were very kindly offered a 5th box from one of my viewers, Sophia, who's a little EKF yarny godmother for us. She got us our New York yarns and then offered this to us, and she shipped it over not a lot, like a while ago, but we just haven't gotten all of us together. If you watch Ariel's podcast, she's been really busy and she's not made it to a knit night yet this year until this week. And so I got a message right as I was leaving my house. Kate's like, if you didn't leave yet, make sure that you bring EKF. And I was like, oh yes. So I had the extra yarn and I brought my yarn too. Okay. So we're all laid out on the table and we had 5 sets to go from. And because we had 5 sets, that extra set, we were, had a discussion of, we could kind of take as much as we wanted from that, as long as everybody sort of agreed. Right. So it ended up being split, not including the day of skein that also was included in what Sophia sent us, but the day of skein, Sylvan already claimed that because we weren't sure if we were going to take that from Sophia, but Sylvan wanted that. The rest, there are 8 skeins in the set, were just up for grabs, right, for whoever wanted to make, depending on projects, etc. So everybody got at least 1 skein from it. I only took 1 skein from it, and I don't actually have that one here, but we will talk about it. So when we ended up saying our favorites, I was the only one that picked Story Weave. It's maybe the color you wouldn't think is going to be the one that I picked as my favorite, but I don't have anything like this. And I think that's one of the reasons that this jumped up in my queue for me. It is both warm and cool. There's a lot of deep blue, green, there's a little bit of olivey mucky green, there's a little bit of light lavendery, gray-y purple, and then there is some brown. Okay, but overall it's just so gorgeous. It reminds me a little bit of the oystery color, I can't remember what it's called, that was in the farmer's market collection last year that I didn't get any of, and that might even be a little bit cooler than this. But we had 4, and Sylvan's is the only one that looks a bit different. It has more purple and a little bit lighter, and she didn't actually bring her set, so that's why I'm also down 1 yarn, which we'll talk about in a second, which one it is. But so I have all 4 skeins of Story Weave. I took all of them so that I could make a sweater. I don't know what it will be yet, but it will be something that has probably a little bit of texture, but not a ton going on, because I really just want it to be this color, this dark, lovely. Ugh, it's gonna be so good. Okay. The other thing I took was a couple skeins. So that's 4. And then I took 2 skeins of Euphonic. So one of them was mine, maybe. I don't know. They got all shuffled around. It doesn't really matter. One of them was mine, maybe. And we went by color matching for some of the sets of 2, what was closest in color and depth. So these actually if you turn them a little bit more this way, like look really close in color and depth. So this one, so I have two of these, euphonic. This is maybe my second favorite color overall, and I have some things that are like this. You know, I love this like electric-y blue, ultraviolet-y purple. So, really lovely. And I don't know what I'll do with that, but maybe like a tank top or something. I also could do, if I did a little bit of color work, like I do have 2 Skeins of Fantasy. I could do leftovers. I could do something that's primarily this with leftovers from this. I don't really know. We'll see kind of where my dreams take me this year. But I have 2 Skeins of Fantasy. So that's 8 total. That's the original set that I bought, just shuffled about. So I only added 1 skein of yarn from the extras box. So the only other one, and this is, again, because Sylvan left hers at home and Katie took the set of the others, which is fine. I will just get 1 skein from Sylvan later, which is the one that's called Visualization. Yeah, Visualization. And it's like a lighter purple color. It's like a grayer than this, not quite as gray as Squim, which is down here, more purpley than that. Okay, so that's the 1 skein that I took otherwise. And I don't know exactly what I want to do with that, but I'm kind of thinking I maybe want like another brownstone beanie or something. Like it'll probably be an accessory, or I'll use it in color work or something. It's a really nice tonal. So that is the only extra that I got. So as the split went, I'm not going to tell you who got all the other ones, but we all got 1 or more skeins from the extras box. The reason I actually didn't take more is I'm really hoping that some of this will make it to Rose City Yarn Crawl. And if it does, and or just a pre-order in the future, like I don't need any more yarn right now, obviously, I would like a couple of those colors on different bases than Denali Sock. I love Denali Sock. I know some people don't like it. I like a 2-ply. I think it's a workhorse yarn. I think the knits stay nice in that, so whatever. But I'm kind of thinking like Escapism, which I love that color because it's that really vibrant purple. I kind of want on a Surrey. But anyway, so, and like, I mean, I didn't really want the browns, right? So that was okay that those, like Contemplation and the other one, that those, I don't have them. Ariel actually took the browns. Yeah. And so, I mean, there's not that much other, like I would maybe even euphonic, that the bluey purple that I got, I would potentially do more skeins of that on a different base. I don't need them right now. So again, I don't feel heartbroken about this. I feel like it's a really good, we did a really good mix. Those are 3 things that, those 3 colors I just showed you are ones I love very much. Okay. So let's talk about books. This week I finished several. One of them was one I had started a few weeks ago and then just like forgot about, and then I picked it back up, audiobook. This one is called Hate Mail by Donna Marchetti. I didn't finish it at first because I kind of like, I figured out what was happening pretty early and I was like, oh, I hate it. But I also was like, wait, I want to know how the guy gets himself out of this lie he's trapped himself in. Anyway, I figured out what the plot twist was going to be early. I have a problem with it, and I can't tell you because it would spoil the twist, but I just have a problem with it because I don't think it's reasonable. Okay? I will let that, if you want to read it, you can read it. I do think, like, overall it was kind of fun, and I liked the premise of it. So the very premise is that there are, like, 2 people who have been pen pals for decades. They lose touch at some point, and then they get back in touch with each other, or the guy gets back in touch with the girl. And she goes on a hunt to try to find him finally in real life. And there is their relationship is hilarious because, like, as they start as like 5th graders or 4th graders, pen pals, just like their 2 classrooms start sending mail to each other, and they were just like randomly drawn. And she sends him a nice thing, and he's in a bad mood, and he sends her a mean mail because he doesn't want to get one back. Well, she just serves it back to him, and that's why it's called hate mail, because they essentially just send each other like scathing letters all the time, sometimes deviating, sometimes whatever, but just like through their whole adolescence. And it's like pretty hilarious and like very dark humor, but it helps both of them get through some things in their life. So anyway, interesting premise. A miss for me on the main plot twist, but whatever. Maybe if that's interesting to you, read it. Second thing I read was Hello Single Dad. Okay, I read 4 of these books. These are Kelsie Haas books. I think I actually saw these on like Book Talk or something. And I just went for it. I will say, this is not my favorite romance series I've read recently. It is all right. There's nothing like inherently wrong with it. I think it's like, I like the characters for the most part, and I generally don't mind how she's doing the plot. I just like, maybe it's a little bit the narrators. I don't know. I'm not really loving all of it, though I think I liked the last one the most. I can tell you why for the beginning ones, which gave me just a little bit, and like she's just doing this throughout the books, all of them. Okay, so these are all plus size women. I think that's a piece of this that you have to know. The first one's called Hello Single Dad, and it is about a guidance counselor and then a dad of one of her students not knowing that they are, you know, who each other are when they first meet. And, you know, decide they like each other at least. Okay. And there's a lot of drama that ensues. I think I really like how the teenager was written, and there's like 1 or 2 chapters from their perspective. I guess the thing that bothers me throughout is that these are all plus size women. And as with any women of any size, there may be some body confidence issues. Yeah, I just think there's like a couple of pieces that she writes about this, like the way she writes the body confidence issues. I have maybe part of what bugs me is that they seem to gain confidence when a man finds them attractive. And I get that reassurance does help you feel confident, and like it is nice to be appreciated by your partner. I just think that I wish there had been that all the characters were a little bit more secure prior to the man, or somehow found their security throughout the story. I don't know. I think like Amy Award talks about plus size women, and like these are with athletes who have like amazing bodies, etc. And obviously all these guys are super attractive and yada yada, because that's how men are always written. But I think the way I like Amy Award talks a lot more about like finding like self-positivity, which is not, it's not to say like one day you just think your body is amazing. It's always a journey, and there's going to be moments, but I think there's a lot of like finding your inner self-confidence just because of yourself, for yourself, rather than because somebody else finds you attractive. You know what I mean? I think that's the miss here for me a little bit. And it seems like maybe the first book was like the most harping on it, so it gave me like this sort of a sour taste in my mouth for the rest of them. But I do really love all the characters, and so like I don't know, I'm a little bit waffly on this. I mean, but overall I think like the romances are pretty nice, and yeah, some of these seem like real problems, and some of them are a little bit strange as far as things go. So this first one, guidance counselor, dad. The second one is Hello Fake Boyfriend, and they're all like Hello, that's the series, I guess, just called Hello. The second one is about the best friend of the first gal, who is a romance writer, who makes a snafu and says maybe she doesn't believe in love, true love, and then has to promptly find a fake boyfriend to cover that up and not get a new movie deal canceled for her books. The third one, and then obviously, you know, real love ensues or whatever. And she's maybe the most body confident, though you find that that's sort of a facade and whatever. The next one is called Hello Temptation, and that one is about Hen. I love Hen and Tyler. And she is a property manager, helping to work on a new build for her company, like just check in on it, and then the head general contractor or project manager, whatever, of the build, having a little intercompany romance. The last one is called Hello Billionaire. This is actually kind of fun, the way that she did this series. So these are outside of LA is supposed to be the first 3. And that's a little friend group. And then I think the next rest of the books, or they might even move again. At least the next book is actually Tyler from the last book, the lead guy, his brother is the main character. And so we're now in Texas. That's where his brother lives. And so I think we're going to get like a new group of people, and maybe it will be, he has one other brother and another sister, and that's kind of who I'm thinking the next ones are going to be, but I don't know yet because I just finished Hello Billionaire and I have not moved on yet. And that is about his brother, his name is Gage, and he is a self-made billionaire property tycoon in Dallas. I think Dallas. And he falls for his newly hired interior decorator for a hotel he just bought. And she is a single mom of 3, newly divorced, and has a lot of other baggage. And he is married to his job. So seeing how that might work out for them, they're all for fun. And they're all like decently fine. I don't know. They maybe weren't my very favorite of the romances I've recently read. The next one I read was, this was just maybe not the best reading week for me. Maybe I felt a little bit of funk. I don't know. The next one I read or finished was Blood and Honey, which is the second of the Serpent and Dove series. I want to read it because I'm going to read the third one because I want to know what happens, but I sort of like hated this one. I just felt like some of it was filler. And again, they're like looking for, allies, but like the baddie is just sending them on a goose chase. And I don't know, the end was a little bit crazy, but like most of the middle, like I felt it was just like too angsty and I didn't care enough. This is like a YA-ish, it's like an older YA romantasy, and it is about witches in a kingdom where they are hunted. There happen to be other beings brought up, mostly just the werewolves were brought up, and like a little bit they talk about mermaids at one point as other beings. Okay, folks. I told you some plans. I told you about acquisitions. I don't really have that much else to talk about this week. I do have a tip of the week though, and I actually totally forgot to tell you this, but I'm going to show you on my blanket. Okay, here's the tip of the week. Generally, people will say, cutting your crochet in the middle of something, any project, is a no-no. Cutting your knitting in the middle of like a knit project is also no-no and going to cause you a big mess. But in particular, in a corner-to-corner crochet blanket, if you mess up where your colors are, you really have to rip out. So I thought. I realized I had done, instead of this square here, I had done this square here as silver, which was not connecting this little bit of the point to the sword. As we know already, swords look weird in a corner-to-corner blanket, and it would look really silly if it wasn't connected. I got like 4 rows past it before I looked at it, and I was like, oh my goodness. That'd have been so much to rip out. Think about how many ends I have in this. Okay. I went to the internet to look, can I fix a corner-to-corner blanket? A couple people said, I actually found a Reddit post in which everyone said, no, don't do it. Don't do it. You'll just ruin what you had. You'll have to rip out anyway. And this was for somebody who had like finished a gigantic corner-to-corner blanket and had like just missed, they like swapped 2 colors just next to each other, which is essentially what I did, although they were like kitty corner. There was one person who said, you can totally cut it. You just have to do this. And I was like, I'm going to listen to that one person. Again, I was like 4 to 5 rows past it. So it would not have been the end of the world, though these were sort of at the long rows. Like if you can see where I am in the blanket. Yeah, I had a bunch of this left over, but I was like, deeply into the 30s here. So it would have been a lot of squares to go back. And a lot of ends and a lot of tangle. So I was like, you know what? If I do it and I have to go back, it's what I would have had to do anyway. So I'm here to tell you It's possible because I did it. And you can see there's a tiny bit of silver down here, but like this baby is never gonna care. I did, so all you have to do is you have to take your square that you want to replace, and you take the middle. Let's show you on a flat one here. So like you would take this part here, and there's three how all of these corner to corner is, what it ends up looking like is just 3 double crochets, and then you do a chain round at the beginning, so it looks really like 4 double crochets, but that's where you end up crocheting like the next row over. Okay, so you're always trapping your 3 chains. But if you cut this middle one and you unravel it, you'll get a tail on both ends. And it's not perfect. I had like a piece of yarn still like hanging across, like it's fine, it didn't matter. I just built up 2 here, like where is the one that I actually replaced? Here. Okay, here it is. So I just built up my 3 double crochets in the space that the silver one was previously. And then I left a long tail on both sides, and I just wove it in kind of over top of any silver I saw that was around. And obviously there's like a tiny bit here, but like it was pretty fine. I just did the same thing. As soon as that worked, I did the same thing with the gray one, and I just built those 3 up. You cannot tell. If you were just looking at this blanket, you wouldn't be like, oh, there. Those 2 are different squares. They look the same. You can fix a corner to corner blanket. That is my tip of the week. I totally forgot to talk about this. This happened like 2.5 weeks ago, and it was late at night when I decided to fix it, which is maybe not my best decision, but it was like, here, I got to go to bed knowing if I can fix it or not. So that is what I have to share with you this week. All right, folks. Well, that's all I had to share with you this week. I hope you had fun watching this whenever you got the chance to, and that you got some really nice knitting in. Let me know what you're working on. I love hearing about your projects. You guys have some amazing things on the needles. As always, you can friend me on Ravelry, and yes, I will stalk you a little bit just because that's fun for me. I like to see what people are casting on, what you just finished. I'm on Ravelry all the time, folks. So I am just like always looking at new patterns coming out, and I like to see other yarn choices that people made, etc. before I decide on what I'm going to make. But I have made one decision. So I had a couple people reach out and also make comments last week on the podcast, and that is on the t-shirt, because I was very undecided on the t-shirt. So I have decided I am going to cast on my Salty Air tee. That's a pattern by Samantha Guerin. It was on my Make 12 last year, and I think I will stick with this purple. This is a alpaca silk linen base. I have used the base before, but this is actually slightly different than the one I used, just probably from a different supplier and dyed by a different dyer. So it just feels a little bit different, but same composition as what I used before. But I made a sample with it, and so I don't have that. And so I really want to have this lovely summer wear. Even though that's going to be hopefully like more deep summer, I'm in a purple mood. So I decided to, yes, just go for it. I know a couple of you said that you had a Salty Air tee on your queue. So let's cast on. You want to jump in my Discord, or like, let me know if Instagram is better for you. Let me know below if you want to join. I'll get a little group of us together, and we can like encourage each other for a, at least here, wintertime, summertime knit, because sometimes you want to just start your season with a new knit. And that is a perfectly good thing to do. As we always like finish up sweaters that you get 1 or 2 wears before the fall, let's have some t-shirts ready to wear for the spring. It won't be the only t-shirt I have on the needles in like February, March, April kind of time frame. I'm gonna start my t-shirts early. I'm not a June t-shirt knitter, only because then that's our summer is gone. We have summer in waves here, so we have a little bit of a nice spring, and then a lot of rain, and then a summer. And so that is great, but I will hope to have a t-shirt for that spring and then more for that summer. So yes, if you want to join, let me know. If you're working on other things, let me know. Did you pick different t-shirts? Are you going to work on still, are you deeply in the winter knits? That's also, I mean, it's snowing here, so that's an accurate way to feel. Let me know. I always want to hear about it. If you have any questions about anything I talked about, I am available. I answer all of the comments below, but also on Instagram. If you like this episode, please give me a thumbs up. And if you are not yet a subscriber, please do. That always helps boost the channel. I hope to hear from a lot of you soon and to chat with you below and on our Discord channel, which the link is down below as well. That's all this week. So thanks so much for joining. I will talk to you soon. Bye.